Session host compute is usually the largest recurring cost in an AVD deployment, and it's also the cost you control the most. This lesson covers autoscale scaling plans, start VM on connect, hibernation for personal host pools, drain mode, right sizing, and how reserved instances or savings plans combine with all of it into a real cost per user model. An autoscale scaling plan automatically starts, stops, or hibernates session hosts based on schedule and load, instead of an admin managing capacity by hand. Pooled scaling plans move through ramp up, peak, ramp down, and off-peak phases across the day. Personal scaling plans work differently, because each user owns a specific VM, so instead of load balancing across a pool, they schedule what happens to that individual machine when the user disconnects or logs off. Remember depth-first load balancing from Lesson 1. It fills one session host to its limit before routing sessions to the next, which consolidates load and creates genuinely empty, idle hosts during off-peak periods. Those empty hosts are exactly what an autoscale plan can safely deallocate, which is why depth-first and autoscale are natural partners for cost-sensitive pooled pools. Start VM on Connect lets a session host sit deallocated, costing nothing, until a user actually tries to connect, at which point Azure Virtual Desktop powers it on automatically just in time for the session to begin. This is what makes a personal host pool genuinely cost-efficient for users who don't need their desktop every day. It complements a scheduled autoscale plan rather than replacing it. The plan handles predictable patterns. Start VM on Connect handles the unplanned case. Hibernation support for personal host pool session hosts is generally available. Instead of a full deallocation that discards memory state and forces a cold boot, hibernation writes memory to disk and powers the VM down, so the next Start VM on Connect resumes the user's session much closer to where they left off, open applications and all, while still avoiding compute charges during the hibernated period. Not every VM size supports it, so factor that into your sizing decision if hibernation is part of your cost strategy. Drain mode marks a session host unavailable for new sessions while letting existing sessions continue uninterrupted. It's your manual override outside of autoscale's automated ramp-down behavior. Reach for it when you're patching a host, troubleshooting a single problem machine, or retiring a host as part of a scripted image refresh, without disrupting the users already connected to it. Sizing doesn't end once you deploy. Review Azure Virtual Desktop Insights regularly for real CPU, memory, and session count patterns per host pool, and compare that against the target you sized for. Watch for pools that are consistently over-provisioned with low peak utilization, or under-provisioned with users complaining and hosts pegged well before ramp down. And periodically revisit your VM SKU choice, since Azure regularly ships newer generations with better price performance. Where autoscale reduces how much you run, reserved instances and Azure savings plans reduce the price of whatever you do run, in exchange for a 1 or 3 year commitment. Cover your baseline capacity, the minimum hosts running even at off-peak, with a reservation or savings plan, and leave burst capacity on demand, since that's exactly the capacity autoscale is scaling up and down. Committing a reservation to capacity that isn't always running just wastes the discount. Build a simple cost per user model, total monthly session host compute cost, after any discounts, divided by active monthly users. Track that ratio over time rather than watching raw spend alone, because raw spend conflates growth with efficiency. A pool that costs more in absolute terms because it now serves more users can still show an improving cost per user trend, and that's the real signal your optimization work is paying off. None of these levers work in isolation. Autoscale handles the predictable daily rhythm. Start VM on Connect and Hibernation cover the unpredictable cases for personal pools. Drain mode gives you a manual override for maintenance and refresh, and right-sizing plus reserved instances or savings plans keep the underlying price of your baseline capacity honest over time. Review them together, on a recurring cadence against real usage data, and cost per user is the number that tells you whether it's working.